All right, good morning and welcome everyone. Well, actually, not good morning, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to CTA Construction Talks. Today is Monday, March 23rd, 2026, and we appreciate you taking time out of your day to join us. This month's theme, Women in Construction, highlights the impactful work being done in partnership with organizations like Chicago Women in Trades to raise awareness and expand access to careers for women in the construction and infrastructure industry. Through outreach, training, and advocacy, these efforts are helping create more inclusive pathways into the trades and related fields. Today's conversation will also center on the personal career journey and lived experiences of a successful woman in the transit and infrastructure space, exploring the challenges she has navigated, the opportunities she's leveraged, and the lessons she's learned along the way. Together, we'll discuss how continued investment in women not only strengthens the workforce pipeline, but also drives innovation and excellence across CTA's construction projects and capital programs. In honor of Women's History Month, today's discussion focuses on celebrating the achievements, leadership, and contributions of women in the construction and infrastructure industries. I am Gurnell Turner, Senior Coordinator of Workforce Initiatives here at Chicago Transit Authority, and I'll be your facilitator for today's conversation. We're joined by two outstanding female leaders in industry who bring a wealth of knowledge and experience to today's discussion. Jane Valinga, Executive Director of Chicago Women in Trades, who leads efforts to expand access to training and career opportunities for women entering the trades. And Tanya Adams, Senior Vice President and Director of Strategic Partnerships at WSP USA, who brings extensive experience in building strategic relationships and advancing major infrastructure initiatives. Together, these women offer valuable perspectives on workforce development, industry partnerships, and the continued advancement of women in construction and transit. As we begin, feel free to put questions or comments in the chat at any time during the conversation, and we'll address them after our speakers have finished their remarks. At the end, I'll also share upcoming CTA workforce events and ways to stay connected with CTA and our partners. And if you've missed any past sessions or you want to revisit them, CTA Construction Talks are available on YouTube under the CTA Doors Opening channel. You can access the full Construction Talks playlist from there at any time. If you're joining us for the first time, Construction Talks is a workforce initiative and a virtual hour-long webinar series hosted by CTA Diversity Programs Workforce Initiatives team every month. It's designed to bring together construction contractors, the trades, community-based organizations, apprentice, journey persons, and anyone interested in building a career in construction. This space is intentionally inclusive, whether you're already working on a CTA project, supporting workforce development, or exploring how to enter the construction industry. Construction Talks is meant for you. The purpose of this series is threefold: to educate stakeholders about construction careers, to deepen understanding of CTA's workforce initiatives and goals, and to inspire participation and partnership across the industry through ongoing conversations. These conversations help connect policy, practice, and people. So workforce goals aren't just requirements, but real opportunities. Construction Talks takes place on the fourth Mondays of each month at 12 p.m. Central Standard Time, unless otherwise indicated. Sessions are always held via Zoom. A QR code to register for upcoming talks will be displayed on the upcoming event slide ahead. With that context, let's move into a brief overview of the CTA Diversity Program's broader workforce initiatives before getting into our guest speakers. CTA Workforce Initiatives is focused on building strong partnerships across contractors, workforce partners, the building trades, and community groups and residents to create clear, equitable pathways into construction careers. For our contractors, we monitor weekly certified payroll reports and track progress towards contracted workforce goals, and our team conducts regular labor compliance visits to ensure workers are treated fairly and that the job site practices align with established standards. We also support contractors in connecting with apprentices and journey workers from Chicago communities, helping to strengthen local hiring pipelines. Through initiatives like Construction Talks and our collaboration with 4 workforce partner agencies, we actively assist contractors in meeting their workforce goals. With the support of our workforce partner agencies, we share information on job openings across CTA construction projects and connect job seekers to training, skills development, and career coaching to support long-term success. And we collaborate with the building trades to advocate for construction careers and expand opportunity. All of this work it also connects to our focus for today's discussion, which I'm super excited about: women in construction. By intentionally creating pathways, removing barriers, and eliminating the voices, and elevating, not eliminating, elevating the voices of and leadership of women across the industry. All right, without further ado or delay, let's get into today's guest speakers. It is my honor and pleasure to introduce you to the Executive Director of Chicago Women in Trades, CTA's workforce pre-apprenticeship and placement partners in the workforce initiatives I've just described, Ms. Jane Valenga. So happy to have you here, Jane.
So I'm on mute. I was just going to say thank you, Gurnell, and good afternoon, everyone.
You are most welcome, Jane. Now I'm going to toot your horn just a little bit here because I want everyone to be super impressed with the career and the work that you're doing with CWIT. A leader in the field of workforce development for more than 30 years, assuming the role of Executive Director for Chicago Women in Trades in 2019 after 10 years of service as the agency's Director of Programs. Jane Valenga has served tirelessly to advance women's participation in construction and other non-traditional occupations. Jane has overseen a large-scale expansion of program services, the development of a comprehensive technical assistance program, the acquisition of a workshop facility, and the establishment of a welding program. In addition to authorship of downloadable career education guides, curriculum, and toolkits, Jane has provided technical assistance to building trades, industry leaders, community organizations, educational institutions, and workforce agencies, and has presented at numerous conferences and meetings nationally and locally. Prior to joining the staff of Chicago Women in Trades, Jane spent 13 years developing and delivering job training and placement services to Southeast Asian refugees. What an impressive career journey. Again, welcome, Jane. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Now, also, we have the Senior Vice President and Director of Strategic Partnerships for WSP USA, none other than Miss Tanya Adams.
Hello, everyone. Hello. Keep it brief.
Well, Tanya, I'm going to toot your horn too, because I want everyone to be impressed as I am about your career journey. Tanya works with WSP USA's business lines, regions, and functional groups to create a work environment that produces 3 key outcomes: a culture of trust that provides safe spaces for sensitive conversations, increased workforce diversity and advancement of diverse WSP talent, and greater support for WSP's colleagues who are leaders in underrepresented communities. In addition, in her role as Senior Vice President, Director of Strategic Partnerships, Tanya has been a member of the Conference for Minority Transit Officials, otherwise known as COMTO, since 2007. In addition to being the committee woman, and I can say that because as a standing member of COMTO for 2 years, I can tell you this woman is the woman, the committee woman when it comes to the COMTO space. She has been recognized for many awards, including the 2016 Corporate Executive of the Year, the 2018 President's Award for Excellence, and she's also, or most recently, been recognized as the 2025 Women Who Moves the Nation. prior to joining, I mean, the list goes on and on and on about these awards. I'm only including three, you guys. Prior to joining the firm, she served in leadership roles with the Illinois Department of Transportation for 19 years. Tanya is actively involved in strategic initiatives with community organizations, serving alongside underrepresented business partners. She's developed and directed both internal and external programs to meet business needs. Tanya's personal goal is to see the faces of America equally reflected in all levels of the transportation industry. So lofty. She has devoted her career to serving as an advocate and a resource to all individuals and businesses. If you read this woman's entire bio, you would be even more impressed than I am right now. What an honor to have you. Welcome, Tanya.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm excited to be with Jane today. Look, I don't know when she sleeps, so I'm excited. And like yourself too, girl.
Well, I am in complete admiration of both you women. You both have had such an extensive and impressive career in infrastructure and construction and training. And I can go on for days talking about how much I admire you, but I want to jump right into the question so that everyone else can, and myself included, get the education that I'm so excited for here today from two powerful women in the industry. So Jane, with that, are you ready for us to start with your first question?
Yes, please.
Super. So I'll jump right in. Given the longstanding work of the Chicago Women in Trades and preparing and supporting women to enter union apprenticeship programs and careers in the skills trades, through the hands-on training and technical assistance and advocacy to improve access and equity, from your perspective, what are the most effective entry points for women looking to start careers in construction and trades industries today? And where do you still see the biggest gaps in access?
Yeah, so you already said it really. I think the best entry route is the union apprenticeship system. And I don't know who's in our audience exactly and how much detail to get into here, but the advantage to an apprenticeship program is that generally speaking, they're asking for a high school diploma, a driver's license, and proof of eligibility to work in the United States, and to pass a pretty basic aptitude test and maybe an interview or an experience form. So this is not a high bar. This is something a high school graduate can do. And I think that they take care of your education once you get in. They take care of your classroom education, your on the job training, almost all of which is paid, and you get you gradually move up, and in 4 or 5 years' time, you're making a great wage with full benefits, including a pension. And so, because most women come to this field without any real experience in the industry, maybe some vocational training, but often not because of gender stereotypes. Women may not learn about these opportunities until they're kind of past the point where they could have gotten training in high school, and are unlikely to have had any paid work experience doing this, or even the kind of informal types of experience that men might get with dad in the garage. So for many women, this is brand new, and an apprenticeship program is set up for people who are brand new. You can succeed in an apprenticeship program without a lot of experience coming in. I think the programs that do the best in terms of providing opportunity for women are those with the most objective entry sort of systems. So taking an aptitude test, the programs that are aptitude test only are sort of the most accessible for women. The programs that require you to get a letter of intent to hire from a contractor tend to be harder because you need connection to the industry or experience to sell yourself to that contractor. But in general, I think what is challenging about all of these programs is that despite the predictions of a workforce shortage, these are still extremely competitive programs. So to get into the electricians or the plumbers, you're competing with 1,000 people or possibly more. And even if there is a good number of women who apply and they're accepted in the same percentage as the men, it still doesn't produce a lot of women because you have maybe 1,000 applicants, and if you're lucky, 50 to 100 are women. And that would be a good number. And if they're still accepted in the same rate, you're still going to have an overwhelmingly male class. So we're really looking for people to do intentional things that that recruit more women into the industry or advantage them in the process somehow. So unions that give, say, graduates from our program points for that in the application process. That kind of thing can be helpful.
Wow, that was a lot. And thank you so much for that response. It's reflective in you guys work as a CTA workforce partner doing both pre-apprenticeship and placement work, that you guys have some expertise there, that you have some knowledge and some things that are working there, because from the CTA perspective, we can see that you all are matriculating women into the building trades. And I believe that, judging from the workforce initiative programming that CTA wants to support, right? Our annual pre-apprenticeship fair that's coming up just this Thursday, and the focus on CPS age students, right? And the community at large, that what you're saying is ringing true. We do need to have a younger awareness of the construction trades in a younger generation, in a younger segment, so that they can get all of the benefits of becoming aware and getting exposure to the construction trades early on, before high school. Because as you mentioned, Jane, you're absolutely right. An apprenticeship is something that you can get into right after high school. And there is an increased focus on women or on girls who are interested in construction. The Metropolitan Family Services Youth Build program has an all-female class that they've just started. And that's so exciting to hear about, because those young ladies will be at our annual apprenticeship fair this Thursday. But that's proof that what you're saying, Jane, rings true, that, we need to get awareness about the trades into younger generations sooner, so that they can get that exposure that they need prior to high school graduation, to help continue to push access to the industry for females and men and males alike. So that's wonderful insight. Just the first question. I think I'm going to be overwhelmed with all of you guys' responses all day, because I'm just so super impressed at the knowledge for this particular construction talks. Okay, so jumping into the next question, and you kind of already alluded to this, Jane, talking about the percentage of women who actually have access to apprenticeship opportunities. With women now making up roughly 11 to 14% of overall construction workforce, and an all-time high, and participation increasing by more than 20% since 2020, and that's from the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics. Recruitment efforts are clearly gaining traction. However, women still represent only about 4 to 6% of hands-on trade roles, and industry data from groups like the National Association of Women in Construction and the Institute for Women's Policy Research show that retention and long-term advancement remain persistent challenges. Given that progress and recruitment and everything that you just discussed, Jane, where do you see the biggest barriers to retaining and advancing women in the trades? And what can employers do differently to better support long-term success of women?
Yeah. So obviously we're talking about people, and there are loads of reasons why someone may not be able to retain. But the number one reason that we hear at Chicago Women in Trades and we see is lack of employment opportunity. So the trades where you are responsible for finding your own work are the ones with the worst retention for women. And it's just having to sell yourself to employers over and over again. Mm-hmm. And it's there is obviously some bias in that situation. And so if you can't work, if you're only working when things are very busy, you can't string enough work together to have an income that allows you to live. And people tend to drop out for that reason. So lack of work opportunity, then there's the job site itself. So there's harassment, there's isolation, all of that. And then there is lack of equal access to on-the-job training opportunities. I think women tend to be relegated to the least skilled positions and not provided with the same level of mentorship that men enjoy on the job site. So what can sometimes happen is if you're bouncing around from job to job and nobody is really investing in you and you're only working when it's really busy out there and you're not getting on the job training, when the years go by and you are now a journey person, perhaps it's true that you don't have the same level of skill that someone who has worked more consistently and had more, attention may have. So, always being able to advocate for yourself to make sure that you're getting what you need can be very challenging. I think those are probably the three top reasons why women drop out. And, what can employers do differently? I think what we would love to see is more women integrated into the core crews that work for, more year round, that go from job to job with the company instead of being picked up for a specific job and then let go when that job is over. So we'd love to see women integrated into these core crews. We'd love to see employers pay more attention to what is the culture of the job site and how do they deal with issues when they become aware of them. One of the things that happens is women will put up with a lot, and it's not necessarily like your boss comes to you and says, sleep with me or you're fired. It's usually more like micro inequities, we call them. So, everybody gets overtime except you. These sorts of, things that make you feel like an outsider, that don't give you opportunity to advance or to retain with that company are really the issue. So how do companies evaluate that? If they are aware of something, how do they deal with it? I think one of the reasons why women are reluctant to come forward with problems is that they will more than likely be the person who is moved. They will more than likely be the person that is let go. And so it could hurt their careers. So I think paying attention to those things and being intentional about taking a talented apprentice, a woman apprentice, and integrating her into your core crew, I think is a really important step.
Wow. Such a powerful response you gave us just there, Jane. Tanya, as a representative of WSP and also a contractor working on CTA infrastructure projects, I'm interested in your take on how WSP is working to hire and create opportunities for more diverse groups, including women. And I'm going to give you one brief moment to chime in here to Jane's responses. But I do want to just share, whenever I'm doing a compliance visit for any one of CTA's major construction projects now, I get so excited when I see women. And usually when I see the women on the site, they are working so hard. They're working with heavy equipment, doing, just work that looks so meaningful and impactful. I go into a site and I see, guys standing around and guys are talking and, preparing, and guys are out there doing work too. But I pay particularly close attention to the women when I get on site, and I always see them working so very hard. And I get excited when I talk to them because I do want them to understand that it's a safe space and that they can share anything with me if there's something that, they want to report. And I'm happy to say say that I haven't ever come into, an unhappy woman on any of the CTA construction project sites. But I do want to underscore what you're saying here about creating opportunities, because that's what our workforce initiatives is all about. And I'm going to yield the floor for just a second to Tanya, because I'm so interested in her take on that response.
I love that response because for me, I stumbled into this career. I knew nothing about transportation or infrastructure. It wasn't until I did an internship for Illinois Department of Transportation. And I'll be honest, they weren't quite sure what to use me for. So I spent the first 6 months changing job descriptions from he to he, she. Times have definitely changed. But the fact that they were all he in all the fields and industry, and then we added she, and now we're still adding on. That bothered me, that I stumbled into this career. And then when I had the opportunity, for my boss said, I need you to help me with some hiring, but I need you to understand what people are doing first. So he sent me out in the field. So I walked construction projects. I helped out there. I helped in design. I helped in programming and planning. I even did mowing and plowing on the highway to get a better understanding of what skills that people needed. And what I did not see were people who look like us on this call today. And so I decided I didn't want anyone else to stumble. So it was great that I was doing that for the public sector. And then WSP came along and they said, we want you to do the same thing for us, but to take it up a notch. We want to make sure that people know that they can do anything, any career they want to have. But to do that, you got to start young. You got to make sure our grade school students can add, subtract, read, write, because that's the basic foundation. You can be an engineer, you can be a construction inspector, you can be a doctor, a lawyer. There's everything out here that you want to be. And to ensure that we have that, we need to start and show them all the things that are out there, but also have the resources for them too as well. So when you talk about a woman going into a trade, needing to make sure she has all the equipment everyone else has, that her kids are okay if she has kids, because then she's worried about that. Transportation to get there, but also being a part of a project from the beginning to the end. It's great if you're going to start out doing that first part of it, but you need a job that's going to give you some length and time. And that's one thing I do love about CTA is I'm right now at the Red Line office, is that when you have a project that's going 5, 10, 12 years down the line, the experience that these women can get on this type of project and take it to any other level. You may start out in this area, but then decide that, hey, I want to come in and, be a program manager, or I want to be a PM on a project. I want to be able to take care of all the billing and coding and whatever there is, that you can excel and grow from that beginning part where you start at. And your opportunities are limitless. So for me, making sure that everyone has an opportunity, but to have an opportunity, you have to know about it first. You can't become a planner if you don't know what planners do. You can't have that vision or goal until you get that. So starting really young, and to show that young women and older women, we can do anything guys do. Sorry for the guys on the call, but we can do any of those careers. And I was at a grade school once, and this kid said to me, oh, well, women can't do that. I'm like, well, why? But to show our young ladies that they can do this, and that there are women out there doing it and excelling and owning their own companies after starting out in the field. That gets me going. When I see a car out there and I know it's a woman's company now that she started after being out of construction, I just get giddy. I beat my horn, I'm waving, because it's there. We just can't be limited to the things that we can do. And for people like Jane, giving those opportunities and giving that training is essential. But after we get that training, we have to make sure they're given those opportunities, those long-lasting opportunities to really make a difference.
For sure. And we know for sure that WSP is doing that work. You mentioned being out there at the RLE project office with Diana Hennington, and I think about, hi, Diana. I think about the number of women that could have served so well as panelists for this particular construction talks. But I don't want to get off topic. I'm going to keep going here with Jane's questions here, but I love that you guys are bringing out that, while we're pushing and making sure that awareness is happening, CTA has the annual pre-apprenticeship fair. Jane's doing her work with CWIT to connect women. Corporations and infrastructure like WSP and RSPJV even are doing their thing to make sure that women are recognized, that both male and females have an equal opportunity in the positions that become available. Even with all that work, right? There's
Yes.
still more understanding and more that can be done. And I'm just happy that, we're in this place, but at the same time, we can also look at, what else can be done. So with that being said, let's get into this next question for Jane here. As a longstanding leader in workforce development, the Chicago Women in Trades has built a strong track record as pre-apprenticeship training providers and placement partners, working closely with public agencies like the CTA to connect women to union apprenticeship opportunities and careers in the skills trades. Building on that partnership and the broader ecosystem needed to support women entering the industry, what role should contractors and unions and public agencies like CTA play in creating more inclusive job sites? And what does meaningful accountability look like in practice? You're leading right into this, Jane. So
Yeah, I also wanted to say before I start on this question that I ended this last question on a fairly negative note, and I wanted to underline that women in the trades have experienced a lot of progress in the last 5 or 6 years. And I think what is challenging right now is that some of the supports, some of what made that happen, like the federal Executive Order 11246, is gone now. And so I think that one of the things we would really love to see from public agencies like the CTA are goals around gender and race-based goals would be extremely helpful in terms of, enforcing some accountability.
and
But
you mean more of those goals, right? Because we've had female goals.
yes, I think that a lot of times what the courts are not going to uphold goals right now. And so I think it has been a very challenging environment to figure out what is a reasonable proxy that will get you the race and gender diversity that you're looking for on a job site. And I think so I stumble a little bit with accountability on this, but I think in terms of what a public agency is doing, I think the CTA is pretty much a model for that. I think the support they're providing to pre-apprenticeship providers to build that pool is very important. The advisory committee that looks at data and connects with those employers and provides that kind of technical assistance and support to connect them to a diverse workforce, very important. I think in addition to that, we are pushing data transparency. If we can't have goals in terms of, legally defensible goals, we can have the court of public opinion. So I think if that information was out there for the public to know, I think that would be important. But I think a lot of what the CTA is doing is very important. For contractors and unions, I think it's really for unions looking at their application process. Are they screening out qualified women? Is anything that they're requiring having a disparate impact on women or minority applicants? I think how do they track employment? Are they able to ensure that the women in their program have equitable access to the job opportunities? Do they know what those apprentices are learning on the job? Is that equitable? Are they learning at the level they should be? I think one of the challenges that women have is like no matter how many years they're in the field, they are often treated as if they are brand new apprentices who don't know anything, And I think we really need to make sure that the women in the programs are getting really quality training and job experiences so that when they become journey women, they can be successful and advance. For companies, I think it's like I had been saying earlier, you know, are women getting equal opportunity to become part of the core crew? And get those work hours and get those opportunities to advance. So, you know, and then we're doing right now a harassment prevention program called Rise Up. And we're happy to connect with contractors about doing Rise Up on their job sites or for their employees. So I think, you know, being intentional about creating a culture that supports all your employees is really important thing to do, and just making sure that women are getting the same access to training, to job opportunities, to overtime opportunities, to advancement opportunities. And if something does happen, how does the company support the victim of that behavior? And so, you know, so it's obviously a very big topic, and I'm happy to connect with any employers who might be on the call.
Yeah, thank you so much for that, Jane. I think it's important. I love that, you know, you recognize that there have been some important shifts for women in recent years. I love that pivot, and thank you so much for uplifting the work that CTA has been doing that supports that inclusivity. But I love that you've mentioned your Rise Up program and how that's a service that you're offering to employers of women in infrastructure, and how it can help build the tools and the internal practices that are needed to eliminate some of the issues that we're still having with women in this space. But I also want to give you an opportunity to lift up some of the impactful things that you've done as leader at CWIT with working with the building trades. Can you speak to how your relationships were developed and sustained over time in terms of your relationships with building relationships with the trades to create pathways for the women in your pre-apprenticeship programs going into building trades? Can you talk a little bit about how those relationships that you have sustained have influenced sponsorship, mentorship, and advancement of opportunities for women directly into apprenticeships?
Yeah, so we're like 45 years old this year, I think,
Wow.
founded by tradeswomen. It was a group of carpenters. So when 11246 was first passed, it created a lot of opportunity for women. And that's when women started to enter the trades in fairly large numbers, or not large numbers at all. It was 0.5% of the industry, but in numbers at all, I guess. And they banded together and founded Chicago Women in Trades to support each other, but also to advocate for other women. So we grew out of, you know, the industry in a way, you know, these were women who were part of those unions. And so that has always been our focus. And so building relationships, you know, it's been the work of many, many years, but I think some of the things that have been most impactful is doing hands-on field trips at the apprenticeship schools. I think that invests them in the sort of success of our graduates, and they have an opportunity to kind of control the message and tell people what they want them to know about their industry. We also do job shadowing with contractors, which has been great, and job site visits. They all come for our mock interviews, so they get to meet the participants, and I think are usually very impressed, you know. We have been doing this for a number of years, so our students have created a reputation for the program that has been very positive, and some programs will give graduates of our program points in the application process, which is helpful. I think over the past few years, we've also been very successful in facilitating the development of women's committees within most of the locals. And that is extremely helpful in terms of somebody leaves our programs and is introduced to the women of the women's committee, and they have a support system already in place. And I think that's been great. And not only for our participants, but also for our relationships with some of the unions, because I think there's a lot of internal advocacy going on as well. And so with the programs that have been, sort of amenable to doing intentional things to improve women's access, we've had some real success over the last few years, including all women's carpentry pre-apprentice classes. We did all women's millwright pre-apprentice class, all women painters pre-apprenticeship classes that we do in partnership with those unions, and that provide facilitated or direct entry into apprenticeship upon completion, have been a real great boon for us. So
Wow.
taking one program, the millwrights, for example, before we did our class, there were 7 women in the millwrights apprenticeship program. We successfully graduated 10 people who all became apprentices on their last day of class. And all 10 of them are, by the way, still in the program. They're now second-year apprentices. And they went from having 7 women in their program to 17, or less than 5%, to more than 10%. So a single intervention like that can make a difference. And I think I just want to highlight that some of the programs are in the double digits. The ironworkers, Local 63, the painters, all the communications part of the electricians, 134, are all in double digits. And so there has been significant progress, and there is momentum in this direction. So, and I think receptivity has generally been quite good over the last few years. So.
Yes. Thank you so much for that wealth of success that you just went over for Chicago Women in Trades, and how you've been able to steer a lot of that work and that success through strategic partnerships, Jane. That's so amazing, not only for the women that have been able to participate and take advantage of those opportunities, but for the industry at large. Now, I want to be mindful of time here, because I want to be able to get to Tanya. So I'm going to hold your last question here, Jane, and jump into the questions for Tanya here, so that we have enough time.
Can I just butt in one quick second?
Oh, yes. And your hand's been up for a while, Tanya. So I'm sorry about that. Go ahead.
It was something that Jane said, which is so true. That I know that I worked at when I was at IDOT and with WSP, is making sure those interview teams look like real teams. So when we're out there interviewing and we're looking for candidates, let's make sure that it's not all males out there on those panels. Not that they're going to be biased, but so you can see somebody else and they can see equality. I'll be honest, when I first started my career and I started doing hiring, I switched up the panels to make it look like real world. And by doing so, your number one changed from what it always used to be. And it wasn't because you dropped down. It was just that it fit what we were doing. It was real people of all races, sex, gender, all being part of that interview process. And that changed the selection. It wasn't dropping down to pick up somebody, because they were a woman or because of their color or any of that. It just made it a level playing field. And I think that's essential when we're talking about hiring people and finding the right position for them, is making sure we got the right people doing the interviews. And when that happens, you'll get the Tanisha Marshalls out there running RLE. You'll get the Diana Henningtons. You'll get Carol Morey from RENA, you and Misty and so many others. When we change that and how we're looking at candidates, I think that will help this industry a whole lot, because we know we need it. It just needs to. It's imperative that what we do in life represents the whole demographic of people that we have. So I just wanted to get that part in. Sometimes just that slight change. And then when I come in for an interview, I see somebody who looks like me. When I think of like Joyce Barnes, she's with TY Lynn. She used to be with IDOT. She's a resident engineer, and she's also the president of CMAA, which is Construction Management Association. So when I see women like her, I was like, we can do it all. We can do it.
Oh my God, Tanya, I love how you're just name dropping here. And I hope that's not going to be a bad thing for this
I can go on and
Construction Talks. I know, I
I
know we can go on and on and on about so many amazing women in this space doing great work. And I'm just so excited about how the trades arm women can be welcomed by so many women doing administration and infrastructure and construction. But Tanya, I have to ask you a couple of questions before we go, because we really are approaching time. I know that you've done 2 decades of work with Illinois Department of Transportation before moving into the private sector. But I have to ask you, throughout your career, you've stepped into leadership roles in areas like business development, community engagement, diversity strategy, positions that haven't always been traditionally held by women in the industry. And not to mention that these positions are, newly created, especially with the DEI boom in 2020. So I have to ask you, what helped you break into and succeed in those spaces? And what barriers have you had to overcome?
I want to start with the barrier first. For me, one of my barriers was myself. That imposter syndrome is real. It is real, if we're going to be honest. Not stepping forward and thinking, I can't do, I don't have all, let me just sit back. But that imposter syndrome will stop you from growing to becoming the person that you should be and you want to be and that you can be. So sometimes we get in our own ways. We let too much things get in our head and we just don't lean on faith, inspiration, knowledge. We can do it. And the other thing is that everyone's road is not straight. It's not like 55. There's winds and turns and hills and valleys. You're going to make mistakes. But my father once said, if you don't make mistakes, you're not living. You don't have to go that straight path on a job route. You can take other avenues to get to where you want to be. And it may change down the line. Say, you know what, I want to go do this here. I think that sometimes stops us, but it's okay to have bumps. It's truly okay. And you can start out as a contractor, but then you can transfer those same skills to work in the public sector, in the private sector. You don't have to just stay in that lane, and that you can make changes and go into management. So I think that was one of my things that stopped me, was not having enough faith in my own self. But what helped me was networking. The amazing people who are around you. Organizations like a CompTO, a WTS, National.
So can I stop you there? Because I definitely want to give an opportunity for you to get the CompTO in, right? And thank you for your honesty and transparency. And we heard you about networking and also believing in yourself. So in addition to your role at WSP, simultaneously, you've held leadership roles in organizations like CompTO, which again stands for Conference of Minority Transit Officials, even serving as national board chair, which I'm sure plays a key role in shaping the industry at large. How did engaging in industries or industry organizations like CompTO help expand your influence and open doors for you?
Just that sheer networking of being able to sit down with the former Secretary of Transportation and be able to, hold a conversation with him, to meet so many different public officials and private sector firms that are out there, that I could see the opportunities that are there. But also it's just that networking. Sometimes, we all can't be excited all the time, and we need to be uplifted. But to go into a CompTO conference and see all the people and what positions they're holding and how they got there. And when they're looking for somebody and they've connected with you at an organization, it's like, hey, Tanya, this is opportunity. Not that it's ever happened, WSP, to me, but the fact that you get to do that. And the fact that I get to network with, like a Nora at an event and have a real conversation. You know, Juan Pablo, every time we see each other, it's an embrace, and it's like, and I feel energized. I can do anything. But also the technical classes that you can have when you go to a conference, these organizations. You got key leaders presenting, and you're getting their open and honest conversation. You get to see that other side of what makes them tick. And you see that we're all alike. We all want the same thing. We want this industry to be amazing.
Jane, I'm feeling like at some point a conference for tradeswomen to understand networking, and that is what has percolated in my mind as Tanya talks, and I'm thinking about all of your great responses and the great work and initiatives you created as CWIT, like Rise, like, you know, other things that you guys have done. I'm thinking about now a conference for women in the trades, and, you know, enveloping them into a network of women that can help them, the women's union committees that you mentioned. Just so many inspiring ideas just from this conversation, such a wealth of knowledge. I feel like this should have been scheduled for 2 hours instead of 1, because us women, we can go on and on and on. And I dare to interrupt you all from sharing all of the insights and knowledge that you have today. But I do understand that we are at time, and a lot of folks may have to break off. This is just their lunch hour, and I appreciate them for tuning in. I definitely want to figure out a way to get the rest of you guys' responses and provide them in the comment section on our YouTube posting for this video. I want to check really quickly to see if we just happen to have any questions in the chat that can be addressed. I see something here. So encouraged by this conversation, my heart is full. Can you share email addresses of speakers or LinkedIn contacts? So, and then yes, a conference it is, and that's coming from Aisha's third event. Thank you so much for your comment, Aisha. I'm gonna have that decision. You know, I'm going to have the speakers put their information in the chat if they like to. Tanya Adams' email just came across, and perhaps Jane will do the same. So thank you so much for that comment, Aisha. Really quickly, if you guys are still with us, upcoming CTA events, our next construction talks, the topic will be green construction trends and opportunities, will be Monday, April 18th. That is a date change. It's going to actually be on the third Monday in April. And then we have our in-person annual pre-apprenticeship fair from 10 to 12 p.m. at Metropolitan Family Services, located at 235 East 103rd Street in Chicago, Illinois, 60628. That is in the RLE footprint. That's going to be this Thursday, March 26th. We're looking forward to having building trades and construction contractors and trainers there.
We'll be there.
To talk to, yes, you will, and to talk to young people and community groups and residents alike about entry into the building trades that Jane mentioned earlier was so very important to not just women, but anyone interested in prevailing and having a sustainable career in construction. If you're interested in how to stay connected with CTA, definitely continue to check your email for upcoming CTA outreach events and construction talks. For job openings with CTA construction contractors, you want to connect with CWIT or Hire 360, our 2 placement partner agencies. Visit our website at CTA Jobs Openings. Visit our website for job openings, internships, and more at www.transitchicago.com/careers. Follow us on all of the social media platforms you see here, including YouTube, on our Doors Opening channel. And if you'd like to look at any previous construction talks, please take a look at the Construction Talks playlist. Thank you all again for choosing to be with us today. We hope to see you next month at our construction talks, where again, we'll be discussing green construction trends and opportunities. Until then, stay safe, stay mobile, and stay connected. Thank you again for being here, and we appreciate all of your time.
Thank you.
Be Monday.
All right.